Welcome to the podcast where we tackle life's chaos, the good, the bad, and did that really just happen moments. From embarrassing to those moments that we say, I've totally got this. By the way, there's probably going to be more embarrassing moments. This is going to be a place to laugh, relate, and maybe learn a thing or two. We'll see. Whether you're winging it or pretending to have it all together, P.S. we see you. We're in good company. Grab a snack, sit back, and let's dive in. Hey everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Layers of Life podcast. My name's Whitney. I'm a mom, a wife, and a chaos coordinator. Also your host for this journey through the beautiful, the messy, and layered world of life and motherhood. I'm super thrilled to have you here. This has been a dream of mine for many years. I have wanted to do a podcast, just didn't have the guts. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm definitely nervous, but 2025, I'm gonna own this year. I told myself, this is it. It's now or never. We're doing this. Here I am. I mean, I didn't get the social butterfly award in 7th grade for no reason. I love to meet people. And what I want to do in just like this first episode is introduce myself, let you know why I finally was inspired to do this podcast. I also just want it to be a space, where anyone can come in. We'll talk about the real and like the raw parts of life in general, but mainly life of being a mom, the good, the challenging, everything in between. There's so much I have learned, since being a mother. There was so much I learned before being a mother, which is a whole other layer, lots of layers. But my children have taught me so much, that I wouldn't have learned about myself, about the world in general, others. And so, like I said, I thought I'd kick this podcast off by sharing a little about myself and why I have finally, after many years of consideration and, thinking about it, decided to start this. So as I said, I am a mom of 3. My oldest is Sophia. She is 12 going on 18. Ezra is 6, and he is my sweet and curious little kindergartner. And then there's Maisie, who was our surprise baby, and I will get into that in another episode. It's a great story. You will definitely want to listen to that one. But she is my spirited 4-year-old and truly my payback child for all those years that I put my mom and dad through. Again, I'm so sorry. I'm also married. My husband, his name is Daniel. We got married 11/11/22. That way it would be easy for him to remember. But also I love angel numbers. So he also feels like my 4th child sometimes. That's another episode, I think, too. Family is basically the blended of love, laughter, and just those beautifully chaotic moments that make it all worth it. We live in Monroe, Ohio, which, if you're unfamiliar with, it's about 30 minutes north of Cincinnati. Born and raised in Cincinnati, originally from Fairfield is where I graduated from. Oh wait, baby, I just gave you guys my age. Woo. But yeah, we love it out here. Daniel and I are going on 8 years of being together, and he is by blood the father of Ezra and Maisie, stepdad to Sophia. I was a young mom with Sophia. She has taught me way more than I could have learned without her, honestly. I truly believe God sent her to me at the moment in time that I needed her. So thank you, Lord. We'll get into all of that, what I learned from it. Like I said, there's a lot of layers of life. For today's episode, I want to focus on the power of sharing those stories. I know personally sometimes we feel like our struggles or triumphs even are just ours, and the only thing that we feel or what we're going through and that nobody else is. But the truth is, when we share what we're going through, we end up helping others feel less alone. One moment that stands out to me is when I first began noticing signs of autism in Ezra. And that honestly marked the start of that layer of life and that journey for us. As a baby, Ezra was hitting all of his milestones. He was crawling, he was walking, he ate all the food, literally ate anything in sight. I called him my squish for a reason. He was just so fat and squishy. But, now he's my string bean. But he eats when he's hungry. He has his, own specific foods he likes. When it came time for talking, I noticed that he started to struggle. Even though he would repeat words when he was a baby and say mama, dada, and ball, he just really started to struggle. And when I was younger, autism wasn't something discussed. I had never heard autism, in my childhood. We knew about, Down syndrome and that disability, but never had heard autism spectrum disorder ever. But when Ezra was a baby, it was becoming more widely recognized. So without talking to anybody, because I had my concerns, and I started doing my own research, and I just began Googling and all the things. I literally kept this all to myself. I was losing sleep at night, and it clicked. I saw flapping of the hands. I saw lining up toys, perfect lines, which Ezra was doing, with his trains. And he still loves trains. But his sharks, any toy he had, it would be in a perfect line set up. When he got excited, he would get on his tippy toes, flap his hands, still does. It's one of my favorite things, though. But that clicked for me. And every article I kept reading mentioned all of those behaviors, and then there was some others as well. First, I told myself, let's not say anything just yet. Let's give it some time, because he was around 2.5 when I first really started noticing this, and I'm thinking, he's only 2.5. Let's wait. It's nothing. Maybe he could grow out of this. Every child develops at their own pace, right? And I also, I was really struggling with was I kept comparing Ezra to my oldest, Sophia, and her milestones. And I had to keep telling myself, I can't do that. Every child is different, and they say boys and girls are different as well. And they mature differently, and girls learn faster and all this. So I literally had to get that out of my mind. When I finally shared my concern with my family and friends, some of them tried to reassure me. Boys are often delayed compared to girls, or Daniel didn't talk until he was 6 or 7, so maybe Ezra's just like him. I really tried to listen to him and, say, yeah, you're probably right. But there was just that motherly intuition that I know a lot of moms out there understand, and there's just something different. And that's okay. When I was pregnant with Ezra and we found out we were having a boy, I see all those future visions, football player, baseball. This first episode's gonna be vulnerable, but I promise they're not all like this. But you see, those future visions, and when this happens, and it's something you internally and your gut's telling you, this I think is happening, it's a whole different story. But anyway, when Ezra was 3.5 years old, about to turn 4, I finally talked to Daniel, my husband, and I told him, I said I wanted to have Ezra evaluated for speech, autism, because he still wasn't talking. He was about to start preschool, and I wanted to, be ahead of the game. I wanted to ensure that if he did have autism, we had all the resources and we had everything that we needed so he can thrive in school and life and all the things. But I remember, that evaluation process took months. It felt like years. There were speech and occupational assessments. There were numerous other appointments, and follow-ups along with that. Those months felt completely endless. But eventually, after all the evaluations and all the tests and everything, we had the final follow-up appointment, and he was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. That day, my heart sank. I knew that was going to be a completely new layer of life for us. And again, growing up, I never heard of autism. I didn't know where to start. My mind flooded with so many questions. And as a mom, I started to think too, was it something that I did? Did I cause it while I was pregnant? Or was it the one glass of wine I had while I was pregnant with him? And please, no Karens. Or, did he bump his head somewhere? That moment I felt so overwhelmed and confused, but I also felt relief. I felt relief because all of my intuition, they were finally answered, and now we could start this new layer and make sure we could do everything that we needed to ensure we had all the resources, we had, everything for school. It was just very overwhelming. I felt alone, even though my husband was there with me. I felt super alone. So when we left the doctor's appointment, I had remembered that a friend from high school had recently posted about her son, because he was recently diagnosed with autism as well too. I reached out to her immediately. She doesn't probably know this, but she truly became such a blessing during that time, because she just assured me, she knew exactly how I was feeling. And there's still moments until this day where I reach out to her for certain moments. It was all new to me. And there's going to be new layers that come with that layer. But being able to talk to her and other moms now, it has helped me manage everything. And that's why I truly believe in the power of community. And my son has been my inspiration to start this podcast. There are so many people that I feel like they have to learn this layer as well too. I mean, it didn't just affect our small family of 5. It affected all of us. It affected our entire family. And if they were to ask me questions, before me having my friend to talk to and reach out to, I wouldn't have known how to answer anything. But now, because I have that community and because I've been able to talk to other moms and parents and doctors and just having the resources, it has helped me so much. And I want to get my story out there. I want to get all the other layers of my life stories out there. And I plan to eventually have guests on, my podcast. In some of these episodes, they're going to be funny. Some of them are going to be vulnerable, like this one. I didn't mean it to cry, but, here I am. But I'm also funny, okay? I feel like I could write a book sometimes. Throughout this podcast, we'll be diving into topics like these, whether it's, parenting tips, life lessons, maybe there'll be self-care ones, hilarious things our kids say, or resources, because I want to eventually also get with nonprofits around the Cincinnati area or even outside of Cincinnati that nobody's ever heard of or they didn't know about. But my goal is to make sure you leave every episode feeling seen, heard, and maybe even with a few laughs and smiles or tears, because this one was just a big ball of emotions. Yay for my first podcast. But I want to thank you so much for joining me on this first episode. It means more to me than you will ever know. I have been so nervous about this, and I'm gonna stay positive, and it's only gonna go up from here. I'm going to learn and grow, and this is a whole new layer of life for me. Please subscribe though so you don't miss any future episodes. I'd also love to hear from you if you have any questions or topics you would love for us to discuss. Maybe you have a story to share or you want to be a guest on here. I love meeting new people. Until episode 2, take a deep breath, give yourself some grace, and remember you're doing a great job. Doing an amazing job. I'll see you soon.